Hey, it's Dougie Fresh in the flesh, hitting you my best to the last. Yes, sizzling and delivering with zeal and zest to help you on your quest of becoming your best and to keep you in check. I'm here to knock you out your comfort nest once again, my friend. I'm here with Ed from Tourbox Books. We met at the Non-Job Elliott Hall Seminar.
Sir.
He's really smart when it comes to sales and mentorship and what else? Traveling. He climbs mountains. He's just an awesome guy, and he's really helped me a lot. He's the guy who gave me $1,000 to go to strength camp and support me. So, great friend of mine. And as you see, he got the books on books on books. Lots. We have another one in the other room. He did a video on my mentor program, an interview. So today we're just going to talk about some very incredible ideas. Some that are very advantageous to you. Some that you may not agree or like.
And that's good. Even
good.
better.
Because then you kind of see where your resistance is.
Right.
So, biggest takeaway, 2015.
My biggest takeaway in 2015, let's see. Well, I would say that my biggest takeaway is realizing that the people that I like, people that I enjoy being around, why do I enjoy being around them?
Mm-hmm.
Because they make me feel better about myself. They make me feel comfortable.
Is that always good?
With myself. Maybe, maybe not. The people that I don't like, the people that I find myself vehemently disagreeing with, or maybe I feel offended and outraged by, it's because I don't feel good about myself when I'm around them, or maybe I feel uncomfortable in my shoes.
Okay, it's getting strong already.
Right? And so why that's a big takeaway, and what you can do with that is once you understand that, then that's a great way and a fantastic way to build relationships with people, because you realize that's the core motivator. So if you understand how they are, what motivates them, and you make them feel better in whatever way works for them,
right?
Then you're going to be able to have a relationship with that person much easier.
I find
quicker.
This advice very helpful for me personally because my family, resistant, my parents, I might not be the happiest around them. So that helps me. I hope that helps you guys. Interesting. Okay.
I would say that was the biggest takeaway from me.
Is it because of your shadow is projected on your flaws plugging into it?
Oh yeah, I think for sure. I think a lot of the reasons why, why we don't like them, the reason that they make us feel worse about ourselves is usually because we already have some kind of insecurity. We have some issue that we're trying to deal with that maybe we don't want people to know about, and somebody says something and it pricks at that issue.
Yeah.
It pricks that insecurity. You know
the best thing to do is just to face it, I find, and to accept it and see it as it is, embrace it, and start to work on it. Joseph Campbell talks about how eating your shadow, eating those insecurities. That's powerful. Now, today, you were telling me about this guy came into your house.
Oh, yeah.
And you were worried about it.
So earlier today, I live here in Scottsdale, Arizona, right outside Phoenix.
We're going to Tony Robbins conference in a couple of days.
And so I was waiting for my friend Dougie here to arrive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting here in my place, and I hear a knock at my door, which is odd because I just moved here. I don't really know anybody. And then I hear the door handle jiggle, and I think, I don't know, maybe it's maintenance. Who knows? And so I open the door a crack, and it's this guy. And he tries to break into my apartment. He tries to push my door open and try to force his way in. And luckily, I was able to fight back and push the door closed and lock it. And he ran down the stairs and he took off. And it was crazy. But after I thought about it for a while.
What else? You were saying, he was like, let me in. You were like, no, get the fuck out of here.
Well, yeah, it was weird. As he was trying to get in, he looked me in the eye and he said, no, it's okay.
That's how Robert.
No, I'm sorry. No. But he kept trying to force his way in. And it was a weird dichotomy. It was strange. It was yeah.
What'd you learn from it?
What I learned from it, actually, that kind of my biggest takeaway from that scenario, is that when it comes down to those, life or death moments, we hear about fight or flight, right? Something that lives inside, deep in us. I'm glad that I chose fight,
Okay.
right?
Why are you glad about that?
Because I think it shows me that deep down, when you're out of control, when you have something that is just crazy happening, and your instincts take over, it's great to see who you truly are.
Is it good? What if you were flight?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean I would be a bad person, but I would personally want to work on that, right? If I just let
I'm
this
more
guy...
of a flight. I mean, just I don't know. I'd have to work on this, but just first instinct, I'm thinking I'm more flight. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm more fight. I don't know. But I think if something happens, I'm usually like, oh, let me back off, see what's going on, peek in there, see it. Oh, get excited about it, and then I might be more. I wonder what we are. Is that a thing? Is that like a test? Are you fight or are you flight? Is that a study? Is that a book you've read about?
No, then there's also an in-between. There's the people that don't do anything.
Oh, they put their foot on the brake and the gas at the same time.
There's fight, flight, and then there's
freeze.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
And so, again, it doesn't mean that one is better than the other.
Okay.
But for me personally...
Accepting and working on your week.
I'm glad that when it came down to it, I fought back.
Okay.
Maybe you need to flight. Me feel good.
Maybe you need to, but go back to the beginning. Should you be? It's good to feel good, but should you be feeling good about that? Could you be feeling good?
I don't know.
Because maybe you could work on flighting or running.
You know, and
because that's challenging you though.
Yeah.
Right?
Or it could have been maybe the guy wasn't actually trying to break in. You know, maybe he was out of his mind and he just wanted to talk. I don't know. Maybe
it sounds something you took it to the next level. Who knows? It could be anything. The question is, you're looking at it from a, what do they call that? Objective.
Yeah, you step back.
Yeah, and that's very mature to do so. That's awesome. So I mean, this is the kind of guy. He's awesome that in that way. So he does that to my life, and that's what helped me grow because I have these accountability partners, coaches, mentors, friends in my life that I met through things like Elliot Holt's Non-Job or other seminars and events, and just friends, people I value, I like, I want to learn from, and they help me. It's great to have around. So, who has helped you?
Kind of just throughout my life.
Throughout your life.
I mean, I would say if I could pinpoint one person, it's gonna be like a cliche answer, but I'll tell you why in a second. Yeah. I would say my own mother.
Yeah, because we didn't talk about that in the mentor video, and I remember you mentioned that before.
Yeah, my mother. Now, not to take anything away from my dad. My dad's awesome, you know. And it's funny. The older I get, the more I realize how much like I am, or how much like I am like.
That's
my dad.
A common thing they say.
You know what I'm saying? But my mother, she had my sister when she was 18. My dad was 20 years old. They got married, so right out of high school, and went to prom together. Okay, and. We grew up in... I grew up the same place they grew up. It's a very small town in western Pennsylvania. So the other side of state from Dougie. Rural town.
Where was it again?
It's called Elwood City. So it's by Pittsburgh, but it's like an hour from Pittsburgh.
Got it.
It's out in the sticks.
Got it.
Point is that...
I went to school at IUP.
People there didn't have very much money. My mom's family didn't have much money. But she had a child. She just got married. Moved out of her parents' house. Her and my dad lived together, and... she basically worked full-time, took care of her daughter, and put herself through school. Then had me a few years later. She ended up working so much, she got her doctorate degree, got her PhD, and became a genetic scientist. Then we moved out to Boston from Pittsburgh when I was 4 years old, and she started working for Tufts University and then Harvard University.
Not only did she get her PhD, but she had a PhD, meaning passion, hunger, and desire. You got that. You got a PhD. So she went to Boston. She's working. That's pretty inspiring with an 18-year-old.
So that's the thing. You know, she's taking care of 2 kids. She didn't come from anything.
Okay.
You know, and I feel like if my mother, my little tiny Italian mother, can work her ass off and, you know, become something great with no help, no outside help, then any of us can do that.
I love that, yo.
Any of us.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you really want it, you do it.
Look at the contrast. We talked about contrast earlier. Let's talk more about that. So you can contrast your... Maybe that was the mental framework in your head that my mom did it, I can do it.
Exactly.
We're talking more about the concept of contrast in general.
Well, we all succumb to what's called contrast bias, and you can look it up.
Was your book about this? A little bit?
Well, one of the things I talked about was about it. But the idea is, let's say it's pricing. right? So let's say you go out and buy a pair of shoes, and you see them at one store for $100, and you're like, I don't want to spend $100 on a pair of shoes. Now you go to the store next door, and you see them for $200, and you're like, holy shit, that $100 was such a good deal, and you go back and buy them.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because you just now succumb to contrast bias.
Right.
So you wouldn't have bought them at $100 until you saw them at $200. Now all of a sudden it's a deal.
True.
Right? So that's the idea. You're contrasting one thing against another, and you're basing the value not on the thing by itself, but in comparison to something else. So if I'm going to take the metaphor of my mother, what I can do is look at my own work ethic. And if I feel like I'm working hard, I can say, but am I working hard as my mom worked?
Yeah.
You know, when she was coming up, am I working that hard? And,
right.
And if it's no, I better work my ass off.
Yep. Have a strong contrast. I like to think of people going from, Delaware, Philadelphia, over to California where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
They went across the whole country. I just saw the movie The Reverence. They were going across the country.
Ridiculous movie.
Oh, we got to talk about that. We can talk about it now if you want. I learned from that movie. I had notes on it. But what I learned, I had some good notes on it. The one thing, I learned a couple things. You know what? I'll make a movie on it. I'll have a movie on it on my YouTube, what I learned from The Reverend, just to clear it up. But back on topic, contrast, man. You put a man on the moon. Or look at him. Look at Leonardo DiCaprio on the snow. He had the name. I forget his name. I looked it up online. But who else? The Unbroken guy.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing, too.
These are contrasts. The guy from Unbroken.
The problem that most of us have is we contrast ourselves with people below us to make ourselves feel better. You know what I'm saying? So you might not be...
That's what we talked about at the beginning of the
video. You might not be working at your full potential. You might be working at 30%.
Contrast people.
You're comparing yourself to people who are working at 15%. And you're like, well, at least I'm not them.
Damn.
You don't get anywhere doing that.
Yeah. Shoot. So contrast yourself. People doing better than you as well. No, below you is good too because it kind of pushes you, makes you feel like you're doing good. And it says they're doing all that with what they have. Yeah. I can do what I have.
Good for yourself.
But people above you, people, in these bookshelves here. Who we got here? Let's pick one out. I mean, we got Sam Walton. I have this book, Made in America. I mean, he's a richest man of all, one of the richest men in the world at the time. Number one. And
that's the thing. And you don't need to contrast or compare yourself with something that is, at the moment, unattainable, right? But think about it in a way of just a mindset. You know what I mean? Think about it in a way of, do I want to really compare myself to somebody who's super lazy so I feel better about not being as lazy?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost like if you go out and try to buy healthy food, there's a difference between healthy food and food that's not as bad for you, right? So you can go to Whole Foods and buy cookies, but it doesn't mean that they're good for you. But you're comparing them to Oreos. You're like, well, at least they're not Oreos.
Yeah, you're living the voice of knowledge right here. You're being that voice of knowledge. That's some good stuff. Cool. Any books you want to share with us? I'm just loving all these books.
Probably one of the ones. I'll bring two. This book right here, Anti-Fragile.
Oh, yeah. Julian Blanc did a review on that.
Ridiculous book.
Dude, I got to
Mindset, mind-altering, world-shattering book.
So, what else you got?
And probably the other one I recommend to everybody.
Oh,
Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman. They're like kind of brother-sister books.
Mm-hmm.
But this is probably my all-time favorite book.
Oh.
Ridiculous.
Cool. What about Thinking Fast and Slow did you like?
Well, Thinking Fast and Slow, the whole book is about cognitive biases. It's about,
oh, really? I didn't know that.
It's about the situations that our mind puts us in where you have a fast-thinking part of your brain, and these are metaphorical.
Oh, so it's like
slow thinking.
Right, so you have the reptile brain or something?
Yeah, like instinctual or something like, if I say 1 + 1, you can't, not only can you not know it, but you can't prevent yourself from knowing that it's 2 because you've ingrained that into your brain. If I say 1 + 1, 2 will pop in your brain no matter, you can't stop that from happening.
Right.
But if I say 433 times 327, you have to calculate.
Let me get on my calculator.
Right? So that's the slow part of the brain.
Cool.
And so what he says is that a lot of the times our cognitive bias, not a lot of times, all the time, our cognitive bias comes from the fast part of the brain.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Mhm.
In your life, you're over 30 years old now.
Oh man.
The slow part of your brain, what have you learned throughout life? Or that book you talked about writing, what's something that you've gained? What's new understanding? What's a profound wisdom that you want to share with the audience today? Those people who follow me, committed to growing, committed to getting knocked out of their comfort nest.
Yeah.
Time and time again, and being kept in check.
I
Being
would
fresh.
say a big thing to me, and again, this is just putting together all the information
Yeah,
that
what
I've got from these
philosophy
books, right?
through slowness of this pace have you learned?
Now, I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that our core, at the core, every human being, our core motivation is to strive for comfort and to basically run away from discomfort, which is really the same thing. Right? If you put them on a spectrum and you have discomfort here and comfort here, if you're moving one towards one, you're always moving away from the other. Okay, so that's kind of been my big revelation. It doesn't sound like much, but you can understand from that why everyone does everything. And once you realize that, it makes, again, communicating with other people that much easier.
So what made you realize it?
Honestly, a big thing was this book, was Anti-Fragile. Because Anti-Fragile, the whole book is about things and systems and people that not only aren't hurt by things that can kind of usually take other things down, but they grow from it.
They grow from it. That's it. Yeah, I love it.
You know what I mean? So that's what
That's
Anti-Fragile
awesome.
is.
So inspiring.
It's
and in your life, through yourself or others, where have you seen this be true?
So let's say in sales. Okay. So for instance, let's say I'm a car salesman. Okay. Now, if I'm a car salesman and I stand around all day, I'm basically at the whim of the customer. Whenever a customer wants to come onto my lot, that's the only time I can make a sale. And I have to wait for somebody. So if no one shows up that day, if the weather sucks and it's raining outside, I'm probably not going to make any sales because no customers are going to come. So that's a fragile way of looking at sales. An anti-fragile way of looking at sales would be I create a client base. I create a word-of-mouth system by keeping up with customers, keeping up with clients, and creating a system where even if it's slow, it doesn't matter because I have people coming in.
I dig it.
And it doesn't matter. So that's an anti-fragile way of looking at it. I'm not at the whim of the weather, of customers walking in my door on my lot. I'm making it happen no matter what.
Okay.
So that's a kind of a real-world example, I guess.
That's powerful. Last thing. For people watching this right now, something anti-fragile they can do in their life. Give them a challenge. What's something anti-fragile they can do? You know? We have a book we were going to give away.
That is true. All right. So here's something that we can do. Now, I don't know if any of you already follow my Instagram that I have. This isn't about that, but I post books pretty much every day.
It is good. I want to share it with them. So where can they find you? Tourbox Books?
Tourbox Books, Tourboxbooks. Tourbox Books. I post a book every day, talk about it, do a little review, have fun with it, basically. And because I do it every day now, I'm comfortable with it. If you're somebody who likes to read and you're gaining knowledge, but maybe you have a little tiny library, that's fine. But if you enjoy reading, if you get something from it, we're gonna do a little giveaway. Here's my challenge.
Free book giveaway, no strings attached.
My challenge to you is to whatever social media you use, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, I want you to go on there and just post up your favorite book and a little review.
A little review. That's all we ask.
Or what you got from it.
The reason why I wanted him to share that and we're going to give this book away to your address is because we want you to be a producer instead of just a consumer reading all the books. We want you to, here, hold this. Show your work. Great book here. We want you to not be a spectator as much and be a contributor. So that's awesome. They can find Tourbox Books. And what book we giving away, real quick?
So this is called "Don't Worry, Make Money," and it sounds cheesy,
but it says actually spiritual and practical ways to create abundance and more and more. And Brandon Carter reviewed it, which is pretty cool. Dope.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys.
So if you post something up, make sure you tag either myself or Dougie in the post so we know you did it. And then after we get a few of them up there, we'll give it away. It's an
Boom.
awesome book, life changer. Get your money on point.
Yes. Hope you guys benefited from the ideas we shared. Stay fresh. Stay blessed. Peace. And stay anti what?
Fragile.
Yes.
Must be Italian.
Mm-hmm.